Your finger can't keep up with your brain. Why is that? Because you don't practice. Practice? People say practice. There's no practice. There's practice in basketball. There's practice in golf. There's practice in dancing. There's practice in arithmetic. But there's no practicing in photography. That's amazing. We'll just go out and do it. We'll just go out and do it. Yeah, but you're missing every shot.
That was the voice of John Free, a street photographer I respect and admire a great deal, talking about, well, you heard him. Practice is something I've tried to do more of. There are so many aspects of photography one could practice, and it's something I'd like to talk about more in this vlog. But for this session, I went out with the intent to practice pre-focusing. Measuring distances with my eyes is something I've long been terrible at, and something I've been very aware of as a shortcoming since I've gotten more and more into street photography, where distance and knowing what they are actually matter a great deal. To help me improve in this area and for tonight's practice session, I've got the Bosch GLM10 Compact Laser Measure. I purchased this little guy a month ago, and whenever I get the chance, I take it along with me places and try to measure distances. First, I'll guess a distance and then use this guy to see how close I was. Also, for tonight's practice session, rather than taking along a digital camera, which would allow me to cheat, I've picked one of my hardest cameras to focus. While it's the hardest of my cameras to focus with, my little zone focus Rolly 35 with its beautifully sharp 40mm Zeiss Tessar lens is also incredibly rewarding when it nails focus. So what is pre-focusing and why do I feel the need to practice it? Every month or so, a camera manufacturer will come out with a new camera body and they'll tout that it has the fastest autofocus ever. But the fastest focusing system has already been around for decades. It predates digital cameras. The fastest focus system is your brain's ability to pre-focus. In a street photography setting, the ability to pre-focus your camera gives you a significant edge. There's no need to fumble about with a touch point, a thumbstick or a D-pad. There's no need to half press or hit a back button focus. It's just a subtle flick of the wrist as you move the camera to your eye and then a shutter release. But it requires some skill and some practice. As you can see here, even with practice, I miss focus without my laser when hurrying to grab a shot. So what is the difference between a practice session and a regular photo session? It's narrowing the variables. When I go out to shoot on the street, it can be overwhelming, especially if it's a busy time of day. With people mulling about in every direction, light and conditions changing, vehicles rushing by, you become ultra focused on one thing, finding the decisive moment. Your brain doesn't have room for conscious thoughts about settings and distances. These things need to become second nature to achieve true competence. So the most important variable to eliminate during this sort of practice is the variable of movement. And the best place to go that you can be assured interesting things to photograph without anyone around is a manufacturing or warehouse side of town in the evening. This type of shooting environment is great for several reasons. Every town has one. There are always interesting compositions, and after 6 p.m. or so, they become deserted. Almost no one is around to disturb your practice session. Of course, some may prefer nature. Certainly that would work for a practice session like this also. For me, I'm a sucker for the urban landscape, and I often prefer it. Other variables you might consider removing when first practicing pre-focusing is composition, and for that matter, the camera itself. Many times I've taken along my laser measure only and practiced gauging distances alone. I feel like I could use a lot more practice here, and maybe this sort of session, where I introduce composition and the camera in general back into the practicing, is premature. But there's not quite so much joy in pointing a laser around as there is taking actual photographs. So while this might not be the most glamorous type of photography you can do, what it's starting to do for me is to build my confidence in my ability to pre-focus, which in turn I feel will make me more competent in street photography or just lifestyle/documentary style photography moments. While I seldom actually rely on manual focus in most of my photography, it's nice to feel confident that I'm not as reliant on the intelligence of the machine to capture fleeting moments.